Hey guys, it's Francine Simone, and today I'm going to clarify and tell you why the quality of a book is a very objective thing. I get a lot of comments and I get a lot of questions regarding my definition of authenticity in regards to books, and I get a lot of responses saying that people think that it still is a very subjective thing. So I'm going to clarify that now, but first let's start with how we are taught about books, because that's where it starts. Now, disclaimer, I can only talk about the American public school systems. I can't talk about American private school systems or any international school systems because I, one, have not experienced them as a student, and two, I've never taught in any besides in Japan, and I only taught language, not necessarily literature. And because as a teacher, I do know how literacy is taught in public schools, and I know how young adult literature is taught in high school. So given all of that, I'm going to talk about what we learn in school and how it influences the way that we read fiction today as young adults or adults. So in American schools, we are taught that certain novels are great. Think about canon literature, literary fiction. That goes all the way up into university. We have this idea that Western canon literature is considered great, and anything else, even if it's exotic and comes from a different country or a canon of a different country, it's still very singular and specialized. We're not taught that every book has the potential to be great. Actually, I'm going to correct that. After elementary school, we're not taught that every book has the potential to be great. And it's usually because with young children, we're trying to teach kids to be more critical of reading. So we don't want to tell them that every book is great, because then they believe that the author of every book is an authoritative figure whose word is correct, and that could be very dangerous, right? I mean, we want to teach kids to be more critical thinkers. So we pick very certain books that we've studied, that we believe to have certain impacts or certain ideas that come across that are good examples of great books. But the message we're sending is that certain books are great quality. We're also taught that authenticity is equal to relatability. How often were you told in school to relate to a character, to try to understand the character? Do you relate to this character? Do you like this? Do you like that? What do you think about they did? Would you have done that? We're taught to think about it as what we would do, not necessarily understand the reasonings by why the character did it or justify it based on events. Now, I will say that if you had a great literary teacher in school throughout your years, this is probably not the case for you. However, if you had a mediocre to below mediocre teacher, it might be. Not necessarily that teachers are bad people or they don't teach or anything like that. That's not the case at all. This is a very specialized thing to teach, and it's a very difficult thing to teach, especially as a concept. It's something that has to be grown with plenty of examples, and most teachers are still working on getting kids up to reading level. So it's not necessarily that a teacher might be bad as much as that, you know, there are tons of reasons why they can't just focus on the craft of writing and reading. There's a shit ton more of stuff going on in school. So, you know, who gets the short end of the stick? Everybody. But most importantly, we're usually not taught how and why something is authentic versus not, or very specifically what authenticity is. Next, if we move up to like university style classes, personally I took a literary criticism class, and in this class we use theories to defend an idea of a book or to prove something of a book. Like, for example, The Death of a Salesman, we would take a Marxist theory to talk about the work at hand, to prove something in its authenticity or its quality. But the only thing that proves is not authenticity, but rather it proves cultural relevance, or sometimes what we like to call social relevance. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's great if we're looking at it from an anthropological standpoint, especially for works that took place or were written several periods ago. However, when you talk about the quality of the book, cultural relevance has nothing to do with the quality of a book. A book does not have to say anything about society or to say anything about culture to be a great quality. Now, I'm saying this, and I know you're probably thinking, no, a book does have to do something. It has to have an impact on society, etc., etc. But I'm here to say that the reason you're probably thinking about that is because we're not really taught in great length about objectivity and subjectivity when it comes to books. You cannot prove the quality of a book based on subjectivity. You can only prove it based on objective points. I think we can probably agree on that, right? The only objective qualities you can take into account with a book are plot authenticity, character authenticity, and world authenticity. Everything else is subjective. I'm talking language, I'm talking moral messages, I'm talking cultural relevance, whether it's relevant to you or not. I'm talking themes, I'm talking genres, I'm talking abstract concepts in a book. I'm talking everything else to do in a book, including writing style and voice, is subjective. That's all things that we can argue to the dawn of day, and it really just boils down to whether it resonates with us or not. However, plot authenticity, character authenticity, and world authenticity are not something that we can argue about. It's only something an author can prove based on the content in their manuscript. So I'll give the definition of what I mean by objectivity. By objectivity, I mean construction and believability based on contextual evidence. That's it. By subjectivity, I mean everything we like, what we like. So now that I've defined what I mean by objectivity and subjectivity, and what they are specifically, the qualities of them, all of that, let me talk about authenticity. Authenticity does not equal relatability whatsoever. Here's an example. I want you to choose which character is authentic. Character number 1 moves to Japan for 3 years. They learn the language and participate in traditional ceremonies. They talk to the local people and create a strong bond in the community, and they eat local food and cuisine. Character number 2 moves to Japan for 3 years. They speak only English. They frequent Akihabara. If you don't know where Akihabara is, or what it's like, think outrageous fashion that almost mimics cartoon-like characters in Tokyo, Japan. They only eat McDonald's or KFC, and lastly, they do cosplay at every opportunity. That's all they care about with Japan. Which one is authentic? The answer is both of those characters are completely authentic. The only way that any of those characters would not be authentic would literally be if there was no contextual evidence to back up their emotional, internal, and external journey. This is what I consider the definition of character authenticity. Contextual evidence that backs up their emotional, internal, and external journeys. In regards to either one of those characters who moved to Japan and did their own thing, whether we believe what they did morally, or whether we can relate to what they did, or whether we think that they're culturally right or wrong, or whether we think there's a bigger perspective or they need to take in more or all of Japan, none of that is relevant. It's not their story, that's not their authenticity, it's not their experience. Their experience in itself is authentic because it is an experience they had. The only things that we need to know about their experience are all of the contextual pieces of evidence that back up that specific experience. That's what makes it authentic. They don't become inauthentic just because we can't relate to them. Because we can't relate to them doesn't mean that their story is of low quality. Just because maybe the one who thinks that Japan is just anime and manga and that, Japan is much more than that culturally, just because we don't agree with that person doesn't mean their story is low quality or promotes some type of, exotic isms or xenophobia isms or whatever isms we can think about. It doesn't mean that it drops in quality. It simply means that it does not resonate with us because it makes us angry. It makes us feel something that we disagree with, or we don't like that perspective, or we don't like people or characters or even writers who promote that sort of thing. That's it. It does not drop the quality of the book because the quality of the book is still there as long as the contextual evidence of that journey is complete. Whether it's a worthy story to be told or not is subjective. Whether it's a story to live out time or those are characters who should never be forgotten is subjective. But the quality of the book, as long as it's developed, is still objective and it still stands as a high quality book. Don't confuse quality with the things that we like or the things that we think are important. Quality does not necessarily mean importance. I just want to pause and be like, I be spitting that shit. Did you hear me? Greatness does not equal popularity. Quality does not equal importance. Like, damn, y'all, I just be getting it. Back to the point, though. So I want to be very clear here. Our objective analysis of a book can affect how we feel about it subjectively. But just how that can have an effect on whether we like a book or dislike a book, our subjective feelings can have an impact on us as individuals. When you only take your subjective feelings into account about a book, it can make you feel very sensitive about other people's opinions on that book. It can make you ignore the objective quality of that book. And teaching only subjectivity in relation to books teaches that our opinion and not our intellectual ability to analyze a book is more important. So I want to leave you with an actual example of something, so you're not just floating around here in this abstract theoretical nonsense I'm talking, right? So let's take something fairly popular that a lot of people have read. The Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Let's talk about character authenticity in this. I rate character authenticity on this as very low quality, and here's why. There is no contextual evidence of Celaena as a character that backs up her emotional, internal, or external struggle as an assassin. The author proposes from the very beginning of the book that she is a world-class assassin. However, there is no emotional or internal or external contextual evidence to back that up. We are told she is a world-class assassin. However, her actions are of a compassionate lady-in-waiting who has a thrill for mystery. We have a lot of contextual evidence that points out the latter of that she's a compassionate lady-in-waiting who loves luxury and mystery, but we do not have the contextual evidence that backs up the former of that, which is that she's a world-class assassin, you know, what we've been told. Here's an example. Celaena, in one of her first or second or third days or weeks of training and to be the king's champion, she confronts Kale, the captain of the guard, and says that she dislikes his strategy that she should lurk in the shadows and wait until the numbers are dwindled and then show her true strength. That strategy is the strategy of an assassin. Assassins are known for lurking in the dark. They are invisible. They move silently. To know an assassin is to kill an assassin. Yet she balks and cries at the thought of this. She hates knowing that her skills will somehow be covered up or people won't know how great she is. Because, you know, I guess as a woman, she wants to prove herself as better than all of the male counterparts around her. However, this is the mark of someone who is very flashy. Now, this wouldn't be a problem, but we don't have that kind of contextual evidence. We only are told that she is an assassin, but shown something completely different, with no meeting in the middle, no evidence that connects the two together. And that creates low quality. Now, I also want to say that this is the perfect example of a low quality book that even I love. It has all of the subjective qualities that I love. I love Maas's writing style. I love all of the aspects that are being put into the book. So essentially, I love all the ingredients. However, objectively, I see that it is low quality. So this is not me telling people that they can't love a book if it's not high quality. Now, who the fuck am I to tell people what to love or what not to love? This is not me belittling people saying that they can't understand high quality because they love all of these low quality books. No, who the fuck am I? Why would my opinion even matter on whether somebody likes some low quality shit or some high quality shit? Honestly, that's not the case in point here. My case in point is that there is a difference. Whether you like something or not ain't my business, but we need to acknowledge that there is a difference. We need to acknowledge that the quality of a book is objective. That's all I'm saying. I'm pointing out that fact. So to wrap it up, as you know, I'm just saying that books are objective and subjective, and I'm clarifying that for you, clarifying what I mean by that. And again, objectivity is based on character, plot, and world authenticity. Again, authenticity does not equal relatability. Authenticity is simply contextual evidence that backs up a claim that the writer or author is making about the character, plot, or world. That is it. I'm not saying that you guys have to just start objectively analyzing every book that you read. I'm not saying that you should only subjectively read now. I'm not saying any of these things. I'm simply saying that we have to know when we're confusing the two and when it's very important not to confuse the two. Simply always being subjective about a book does in turn make us extremely sensitive about the opinions of that book, and it makes us extremely sensitive about the criticisms of that book, and in turn it does not strengthen and exercise our ability to intellectually discuss a book, because we are so used to using our opinions that we forget to use contextual evidence, and we look for ways to prove our opinion right instead of asking the question. And I feel like this is a very big thing, not just on Booktube, but amongst people in general, especially today, where we are so connected and we hide behind the internet often and hide behind our words all the time, and we think that we can't affect other people. But we are always so focused on winning that we forget that the biggest and most important thing to do as human beings is simply to question, and most importantly, question ourselves and our own beliefs, because only then can you understand yourself. And once you understand yourself, you can start and begin to understand others, and that is the most important thing that we could ever do. And you know what? Books help us do that. Books help us go from one person to thousands, if not millions. And if we can start doing it with books, we can do it with people. And that is why this is such an important topic for me. If we honestly want diversity, and especially YA books, if we want diversity at all, we have to understand each other. We have to stop thinking about the superficial things that divide us and start understanding each other to understand what connects us. I mean, we are already connected by books, yet we are still so divided on the superficial. And right now, the publishing companies and writers are so obsessed with trends that I fear us screaming for diversity in the way and the climate that things are now, the only thing we're gonna get are a whole bunch of manuscripts that offend our senses. We're gonna get queer literature that's a mockery of what it means to have a different sexuality. We're gonna get people of color in books that are nothing but a stereotype, no matter what the stereotype is. We're not going to get these authentic experiences that we have been wanting. Because if they can't do it now with white heterosexual female characters, especially in YA, what makes you think that it can be done with anybody else? When we do this, when we realize there is a difference between the objective and subjective qualities of a book, when we realize that there is a such thing as a high quality book, and it is a very concrete, objective thing, writers and publishers will know that they cannot attempt to do anything except for strive for the highest quality of work. And when they understand that, when we as writers understand that, then we begin to search to understand what that even means. We begin to question ourselves, and we begin to understand. And when we understand ourselves, we can understand the people around us, and we can write those stories that people deserve. So I hope that clarifies it. Y'all over here thinking I'm a crazy bitch talking about books are objective. Well, they are. Anyways, guys, if you have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments. I love the comments. You guys have no idea how happy that makes me to see your comments or to talk to you on Twitter. I love talking to people on Twitter. Like, I am not a Twitter person, but now I'm always like, girl, what you doing, boo-boo? Let me gif you, boo-boo. Like, I love talking to you guys, and it's so nice. And I think I'm up to like 700 subscribers now, and, you know, I know that it's not important, etc., but I really want to say that I feel so... I don't use this word lightly, but I feel so blessed that you guys think that what I have to say is even remotely interesting, and it's important enough to listen to first of all, and then share, and even to talk to me about. Like, even when you guys disagree with what I'm saying or you ask questions, again, it's not about me even winning, it's about me questioning myself. When you question me, I question me, and then, you know, I think and I try to understand it more, and I try to get these higher understanding of ideas, because the whole point of this is to have quality work and for me to be a quality writer, and I can't have high standards if I don't question nothing, right? So it means everything to me when you guys, like, you know, watch and talk to me, and I'm so happy. And I sound like I'm about to cry, but I'm not. I'm emotionless, so don't even try it. So anyways, guys, thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon. TTYL, to top for now. Bye.